Namaskar. This is Akhilesh Bhargav. Welcome to Tidbits on Business and Finance with me. The recently released better numbers of the state of the government finances due to improved tax collections and other receipts of the government. It got misplaced kudos to the government and coincided with an editorial in the Business Standard appreciating the performance of the finance minister. Since the FM stands as the leader of the nation's economy, it is good to see confidence being reposed in her. Let us, however, have a look at the performance with the ground reality and the bigger picture in mind, which to us would be the deciding factors of the performance that the Business Standard discusses. Before that, let us have a look at what the Business Standard says. The Business Standard says that there are some positive surprises coming from the finance minister's performance to say that she is proving to be a far better finance minister than what her initial rookie status might have led people to expect. It gives her credit and applauds her performance on a number of fronts, which include the first one, making the budget a more honest exercise by bringing off the budget expenditure onto the budget and making a clean breast of it. The second, improving the speed and regularity of tax refunds, which used to be blocked for several years. The third, removing corruption and harassment from routine tax administration by making it digital, faceless, and transparent, and depersonalizing it. It, however, says that she has been partially successful in closing the enormous number of tax disputes through settlement schemes. And finally, tackling the menace of fake invoicing and tax evasion by enforcing e-invoicing, linking GST records to the Aadhaar and cross-matching them with income tax filings. The Business Standard editorial mentions that while the finance minister is the custodian of the government finances, her primary task, however, is to steer the main economic metrics, which is growth, domestic economic stability, and external stability. It gets a bit realistic by saying that this patchy but encouraging picture of tax administration and revenue and the macroeconomic situation in the middle of a pandemic will not be complete without mentioning certain policy negatives, which is the government's underperformance on privatization, failure to fix the banking mess that we face, protectionism, removal of tariff exemptions, and the misuse of the mighty machinery of the Enforcement Directorate and the Income Tax Department to target opponents and critics of the government. The comments in the Business Standard editorial are well taken, but let us be connected with the ground reality and then analyze the picture and performance that it paints. With more enhanced powers of penalty and prosecution, the corruption and harassment in revenue departments has not gone down at all, as the newspaper claims. Moreover, the digitization and faceless appeals have only added to the confusion, chaos, and complexity in the tax departments. Not to forget the present huge fiasco of the income tax website, which has brought the entire tax system to a halt. And while it was promised that it would be set right by 30th June, that has not happened at all so far. The faceless assessment and appeals are simply denying the taxpayers of their fundamental right of being personally heard and are only adding to the prolonging of tax disputes and are instead not resolving them, which they should have done at the earliest. Further, with every activity of life and livelihood being digitally linked to our PAN and Aadhaar cards, the government is in possession of massive real-time data, and thus tax evaders are bound to be caught by the system. This system improvement has been in the works for over a decade, and therefore the credit for it goes to the entire government machinery that worked on it over this period. Moreover, let us be honest, these changes have benefited the government more than they benefited the taxpayer. For example, the tax refunds may have gone up and they may have gone more regular, but they are too little as compared to the overall jump and improvement in the government's own tax collections because of this improvement in the system. And finally, bringing the off the budget expenditure on the budget is certainly an improvement and a tacit admission of the earlier number fudging that the government did. But to us, a lot of cleaning needs to be done in the government numbers before we would say that the budget making has become a more honest exercise. The fact is that these improvements are largely on the surface and cosmetic issues, while several deep structural issues and long-term challenges remain quite unresolved. That gets us to the key issue as to what is expected of a finance minister in India. The reality is that a finance minister is the leader of the nation's finances and economy and is required to wear many hats for the discharge of her duties. But if we talk in corporate terms, then she wears two primary hats, that of a finance controller and also that of a CFO. She is the custodian of the government finances like a finance controller, managing and providing for the day-to-day cash flows and also controlling them. But as the CFO, she is required to provide a vision and strategy for national growth and address the long-term structural challenges that the country faces. Government cash flow management is an important short-term day-to-day surface activity, but a far more important job is on the strategy and structural front, which lays the foundation of the country's long-term growth and enhances the government's cash flows by increasing the tax collections and other receipts over a period of time, particularly in the longer term. We think that the role of a visionary and of a strategist who provides leadership to the nation's economy matters much more, because without government policies that facilitate long-term growth of India, the government's finances will only suffer as we see now, and so will be the case of the nation's development. And all those structural and long-term challenges which say that the government has underperformed on the economic front include some very critical issues. And what are they? The first one, rising unemployment, with new jobs being a fraction of those needed to give gainful employment to our teeming millions. The government has grossly underperformed here. The second, rising inequality in income, wealth, and sheer opportunities between the big ones and the small ones. The third one, rising poverty, which did take off during the pandemic, the base for which, however, was built in the many years of subpar growth since 2016, and growth has been far below the promise and the potential, and thus poverty did take off. The fourth one, the shrinking middle class. As per a Pew's report, 1/3 of India's middle class has fallen into poverty, and the numbers today are just 2/3 what they were before the pre-pandemic times. And related to it, of course, is the crisis that the MSME sector faces. The next one, investments in new projects having dipped to a 2-decade low, with investors having no confidence in the direction of the economy. The sixth one, inability to solve tax disputes, like in the case of Kane Energy and Vodafone, which have caused long-term damage to India's reputation as an investment destination. The next point where the government has underperformed substantially is the unresolved bank NPA crisis and India's shaky banking and financial system. The next is the diminishing GDP growth, which has dipped consistently year after year, touching a worrisome low of a mere 3.2% in March 2020. Rising protectionism and trade barriers, which have benefited the system's biggies and the cronies and have immensely harmed the MSME sector, is the next challenge that we talk about and which has been unattended. Corruption, red tapeism, ever increasing laws, and the cost of compliance, which only erode the ease of doing business and the ease of earning in India, is the next point which needs attention. Rising inflation and falling consumer spending is another challenge. And finally, the dipping confidence of the businessman and the consumer in each succeeding RBI survey show that something has been missing and has not been attended by the government strategy, by the government vision. The pandemic has certainly been a huge, unprecedented calamity, but let us get real and long term and pursue the bigger picture of a prosperous India with a robust economy. To us, the FM is required to be a statesman as well as a politician, but it is the statesman's role that lays the long-term foundation of the national economy, and that to us seems to be the missing element. The performance needs to certainly improve when we talk about the FM being a strategist, a visionary, a leader, somebody who takes the direction of the economy into a prudent, long-term, solid foundation. This is Akhilesh Bhargav signing off till we meet again. Namaskar.
Now be the first to know about the latest updates on our new news app. Go on your Android or iOS, search for HW News Network. Download our app, choose the language you prefer to get updates in, and be up to date with the latest news.
If you like this video, please share it, and we would love to hear your comments in the comments section down here. Also, please do like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter to get minute-to-minute news updates. For more such shows and videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel.